thing that I'm still struggling with, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on, is how did a convicted felon resonate more with Americans than a hyper qualified woman of color? Do you think that racism and misogyny played any part in this election?
She can't stop, folks. She can't stop. Hi, everyone. My name is Christopher. I'm the host of the Open Mind Show here on YouTube, and I'm trying to inject some level of moderate discourse in our politics today. So if you're liking my content, definitely hit that subscribe button, share, comment below, tell me what you're thinking. Folks, I don't always like covering The View, but Sonny Hostin always, when it comes to the 2024 election, she can't help but think that the country by its nature is racist and misogynist, that it somehow is at its core corrupt, that people like uneducated white people came out in large numbers and voted for Trump. And that's the narrative. And every chance she gets, she's hammering home that point. Here she's talking to Hakeem Jeffries about racism and misogyny. Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat in the House, and trying to make him validate her opinion. For so long, I truly believe, and I've said this a long time ago, and I have said this on my podcast as well, people vote with their wallets first. If the economy's doing bad, they vote primarily based on that, and then I think social issues are secondary. And it's surprisingly, people don't think that Trump is racist or misogynist, or at least if they think that, they certainly didn't allow that to come into view when it comes to their vote. But here's what Hakeem Jeffries had to say to this. And I'd love for you to comment on it, because to me, it's interesting how he responds.
Well, listen, I think that Vice President Harris was eminently qualified. And I supported her with everything that I had, and I think so many Americans did. It was a close election at the end of the day, didn't break in her direction. I think we all are going to unpack as part of our after action analysis. How did this happen? Where did we fall short? I do think that the emerging lesson, separate and apart from reasons may be connected to race and misogyny, is that the economy was the dominant theme for a lot of folks. Particularly when you consider that in many communities of color, there was movement away from the Democratic candidate and toward the former president. But I think we have to unpack it all. And it's understandable that there's great disappointment amongst a lot of people.
Oh, Hakeem Jeffries, the consummate politician, he actually says that. He says, hey, by the way, he couldn't bring himself to say that it was racism, misogyny. He couldn't even legitimize what Sonny Hostin was saying. He had to bring it back to the economy. And he even said there are people from underrepresented groups who voted for Donald Trump. So if we truly believe this racism and misogyny tagline, then how does that explain that fact? Now, I know, folks, the information's still coming out from the election, but I just want to share this with you because I think it's really important. Once more data comes out on how different groups voted, it'll tell a very stark picture specifically for Democrats. But here's some interesting information that just came out. This is an NPR, just released this today. Demographics did not determine how people voted. Now, this is really interesting. Democrats lost grounds with voters under 30 in nearly every swing state, with the exception of Georgia, where Harris gained slightly, and Arizona, where supporters were the same. The decline was especially pronounced in former blue wall states in the industrial Midwest, where younger voters moved in double digits away from Democrats. There was a, quote, seismic shift with Latino voters. Excuse me. In the last few elections, they have gradually declined in their support of the Democratic Party. And 2024 saw a dramatic swing to the right with them. In some states like Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan, Latinos shifted by more than 20 points. Is this really surprising? Black voters also supported Democrats in lower numbers compared to previous elections in many places, but the shift was less dramatic than Latino voters. There was one notable exception, Wisconsin, where Democrats saw steep declines with Black voters. White voters were a higher share of the electorate and voted in larger numbers for Trump. Trump's margin with white voters was essentially unchanged, but white voters make up larger shares of the electorate. And there's a political realignment taking place, not just on education and race, but also by age. Older voters were once seen as solid Republicans. Seniors shifted away from Trump in the majority of the swing states like North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Again, very interesting as we see in Georgia, Latinos helped fuel Trump's win. Trump increased his margin with white voters, 6 in 10 who cast their ballots. But he also cut into Harris's margin with Latinos, which won wider margins with voters 45 and older, and men made up a bigger share. In North Carolina, Trump made a great gain for younger voters and Latinos who shifted by double digits in Trump's direction, and he cut into Harris's margins with black voters too. He also drove up his margins with men and won by a big margin with white voters. Arizona, Trump sees double-digit gains with the Latinos. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And this is from NPR, folks, and I'll leave a link below for you to check it out. But again, more data needs to come out. But really, is it that surprising? I mean, the economy is really bad right now. And folks, the people who are, I think, suffering the most in this economy, there are many, I mean, all of us are truly suffering in this economy. But I think particularly for younger people, you got to think, they're graduating university, let's say with student debt, whatever, and they're entering into an economy where housing has never been more unaffordable than now. So what are we really selling students today? You know, when you think about it, what is the value of a 4-year college or university degree when you really think about it in this economy? You know, the benefit is you get a 9 to 5, but can you still get ahead, or are you still forced to live with mom and dad into your 20s, into your 30s as you save up for your first house? And your first house is probably, if you want to stay in your city, probably the 600 square foot condo kind of thing. You know, it's not like a house with a picket fence and a backyard and a car in the driveway, you know, all of that. So young people are starting to see the dream that was once sold to them go away. So I can see how they're like, you know what, Democrats, you guys don't know what you're doing. I'm going to put my vote to Republican. I think the other thing is you got to remember too, there's something about Trump speaking at a grade 3 to 4 language where his policies are easy to understand and identify, and his perspectives are also easy to understand and identify. And I truly do believe Kamala Harris really struggled at talking her policy points in a matter-of-fact way. I think that Trump isn't the first one to do this. Obama did Hope and Change, and he did that quite eloquently against John McCain and Mitt Romney. And Bill Clinton, I think, was also really good at making the voter believe that he was a very good guy, someone that they could have a beer with. And I feel like voters also felt that way about Trump, even though he doesn't drink. They felt this connection to Trump that, you know, he's not this race, you know, they didn't think of racism and misogyny. They thought about the economy. They thought about how they're able to get ahead, and they thought Trump was the guy to do that. But it just surprises me over and over again how Sonny Hostin on The View just can't stop constantly bringing up race and misogyny in literally every conversation. And this rejection, I think, of the actual data that is now coming out, and it's not my opinion, this is from NPR. The fact that so many are denying this data is scary in their analysis and in their reach. But I hope more and more View watchers are looking through what Sonny Hostin is saying and saying this, it's much more than race and misogyny. Certainly people vote for all types of reasons. I'd like to think people vote based on race and misogyny at the more extreme ends of society, but the vast majority vote based on their wallets, and the economy just isn't doing well. But very interesting again from Sonny Hostin, and I really hope with more criticism of The View that they actually become more moderate in their approach. I don't know if that's possible, but I really do hope that they move to the center, because this race baiting is not healthy for our democracy and our public square at all. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. And what do you think of The View? Do you think that they should continue this type of analysis, or should they move back to the center if they were ever at the center? Let me know in the comment section below.